Are you there? Are you really there?
I am here, finally.
We did it. They said it. They said it would never happen, and I said no. We're gonna make it happen.
Well, you keep throwing curveballs at me and changing the schedule. And
It's just like the old days, right? Just like the old days.
yeah.
Got to be
Well,
ready.
you gotta tell the audience to turn their Spanglish on because I just came back from a long time in South America, so
Oh no,
it's gonna happen.
this will be our first bilingual episode. You speak your native language, and I'll translate everything you say.
It's not even Spanish; it's literally Spanglish. It's like every time I go there, people make fun of me because I'm Spanglishing, and when I'm here, half of the people understand me.
Wait,
Of course, what?
where were you, and what were you doing?
Well, it's a long story.
I'm sorry, we don't have time for that. Let's go to commercial. Yeah, that's why we're here, for you to tell long stories.
I left September of 2023 for 3 months in Mozambique, doing my dive masters while volunteering in scientific research in the middle of nowhere in the
Wait, like
Basaluto
diving, like underwater filming?
Yeah. You must know I'm a scuba diver because I do underwater cinematography as well. You know this, stretch.
I remember that now, but
So then I was like, you know what? I want to continue doing my education in diving because I also want to volunteer in conservation. And also, hopefully, in the future, connect filmmaking and diving. So, National Geographic kind of stuff, hopefully.
yeah. I like,
So,
no, smart. Put it out there. Put it out there.
So yeah, I just look up for programs that were to do conservation volunteering while doing the dive masters because it usually takes like 6 months, but 3 if you're full time.
Right.
So I found this ocean observatory in the middle of nowhere, and I spent there 3 months, and then it was pretty cool, rough but cool. It literally in the Indian Ocean. I lost myself underwater. I almost died a couple of times. But I
Wait, what do you mean you lost yourself? That sounds so spiritual. Like,
no, it was scary as hell. So we are diving. I don't remember why I'm the last one on the group. It's like 10 of us. By then, we're in the rescue diving part of the course, and the dive master. It's only one of them. It's the Indian Ocean is super rough, right? So
yeah.
you dive from a rubber duck. You roll back and immediately have to go down 100 feet, 30 meters.
Okay.
You meet there with the gang, and then you start diving.
That's to get away from the rough. It's rougher the closer you get.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, you need to go down quickly, otherwise you miss the spot that you're supposed to be diving.
Oh, right.
So the leader of the team holds a buoy that tells the boat where we are because they cannot send how do you say those things that you put on the bottom to hold the boat in place?
An anchor?
Yeah.
Anchor.
You cannot have that because it's all super fucking deep. Excuse
Right.
me, you can beep that.
I expected this with you.
So to make the long story short, we're down there. Visibility is super like minimal, like literally 5 feet tops.
Yeah.
So my buddy and I are diving together. Also, it's like super rich by September, like food wise. So it's even less visibility. So it's rough, it's deep, it's dark that day. So I see this crab that is called a teddy bear crab. What I thought was trying to get inside of a starfish. So it was super cool. So I stay there for literally 30 seconds, no more.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I turn around and I'm alone.
Oh my God.
Anyone. And I'm like, shit. So I swim around and I see nothing. Usually you can see bubbles from someone, but nothing. Yeah. So the protocol says that you need to dive around for 1 minute. And if you don't find anyone, you need to surface immediately, not doing your safety stop. Because again, the currents are super rough. So you might get drift into the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So that was also scary. There are sharks, bull sharks in the area, which was also scary.
Okay.
And finally, I was just learning how to deploy a buoy underwater. It's like a sausage. So you inflate it, but you
Yeah.
need to do it right. Otherwise, it takes you up with it, and you don't want to go to the surface really quick, because like the
Because
gas
the
inside of you can expand, and then you might have like a medical issue, serious medical issue.
yeah.
So I did it, I do it right, and then I start coming up, like reeling, but I kid you not, I could hear my heartbeats. So, because it's like at some point you're so deep that you don't see the bottom, but you also don't see the surface, and also you don't see anything around you. So you're in like a blue void.
So you know you're moving up, but you
Yeah.
have
Also,
no reference point.
you cannot rush it, but you can also not be super slow, because again, you get drifted from the group. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you get drifted into like the ocean where we were, it's literally there's no more land nearby if you get drifted.
Yeah.
So you're probably lost. So yeah, I go up and I surface and I don't see the island. And I'm like, shit. And so I start moving around. And thankfully, the boat was like a few meters behind me, but like right behind me. So I was scared. But good thing, it was a good learning experience for everyone. I now know I can rescue myself also. But yeah,
Were they already on the boat?
yeah, because like my body alerted the dive master of that moment. So they also they swim for a minute, and on their side, they also have to go up. So it was scary, but cool in a way.
What's going through your mind when you're down there, when you're like going up? Are you just thinking survival? Are
I mean,
you
this is gonna be funny, and you then need to have her side of the story.
don't say you thought about me.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Kalila Robinson, also a fellow DP, she also is a scuba diver, and she gives me a hard time constantly. We're like sisters, so we give us a hard time. So when I was going, I told her like, damn, I just purchased this super expensive insurance just in case I get drifted. There's a budget for someone to find me. Because my mom was like, just please don't get drifted.
Oh my God.
So like get a proper insurance. So I was like, I just spent pay $1,000 on the most expensive insurance. So Kalila was like, that was a waste of time. If you get drifted, no one's gonna find you. Like you're dead. Don't pay for that. And literally when I got lost, it was like, I'm not proving Kalila right. So I
Although
was like,
you would have been right, but nobody wants to be right in that scenario.
so
Yeah.
I literally the whole time was like, one, I promised everyone back home I wouldn't die, because they're always thinking I'm gonna die in some weird ass situation. And
Yes.
second, it was like, yeah, no, Kalila cannot be right on this one. So
That's amazing. See, you need motivation in life in any way that you can find
yeah,
it, right?
exactly.
And
Like a friend, but I kid you not, that was literally what I was thinking. It's like I cannot do this to my sister and my mother, because they were like, they're always thinking I'm dying.
yeah.
And Kalila, of course.
And then do you not tell your sister and your mother this story afterward?
I did not tell
Okay.
anything about it, because it was not only this time, another time, not that I got lost, but again, it's super choppy and the currents are hard. So we were doing another rescue portion where you take a diver to the boat in rough conditions. But in this case, it was like extremely rough, like choppy, super tall waves. And I'm trying to find out what's my best buoyancy control. Like I'm trying to get better at that. But it's very cold, so I'm taking the 7 millimeter wetsuit. But when it's dry, you basically become a buoy. And as I already mentioned, in this case you need to roll down and go quickly down.
Yeah.
The protocol, thankfully, says that the boat cannot turn the propeller on for like 5 minutes, because sometimes there's divers that cannot go down. In this case, I have little weights and I'm thicker, literally. So I roll back and I'm not going down. And all of a sudden, like the choppy ocean is bringing me closer to under the boat. So I'm trying to go down, and I see the boat literally here, like, and I'm trying to go down and I'm not going, and all the air is outside of my VCD. And then I turn up and the propeller hits my mask like this. Bah!
Oh my God.
Nothing happened to me, thankfully, but the coach of that moment like saw me and like dragged me down. Like we were both like, excuse my French, shitting our pants, because yeah, it was like the proper angle for nothing to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happened, then that getting lost. So I mean, you're in rough circumstances. It's only normal that those things will happen. Like other things happen to other divers, but you're learning how to survive in these cases. And yeah, but I couldn't tell them because they were like super stressed out. Plus, my mom got a seizure. So
Oh.
I didn't want anyone to be more stressed about me. So I told them everything was fine or whatever. So when I returned in December, I tell the stories, but before that, no.
I feel like after that first one, where you got left down there and you figured it out, you should just pass. You should just like get the full, here's your diploma. You're a master diver now. Move on.
Yeah, but it really helped because then when we were doing the dive master and we're taking people less experience on excursions and whatnot, we then knew what to look for, like who was gonna get lost, who would have issues with deploying the buoy, that kind of stuff. So it actually helped. So
Yeah.
I became a better diver. So if you want to go diving with me, I can keep you alive.
After these stories, yeah, of course. No.
But if I survive, I can make you survive as well.
You know what? I'm like, we'd have to start like a few steps behind diving, and I've never been a very good swimmer, which has been that's like been a big insecurity of mine. Like I never had, like as a kid, my parents never took me swimming, so like now it's like I can survive in a pool, but I'm always like a little like So
Well, one of the people there, we were all like, are you kidding? Because he was usually my buddy in half of the rescue course. So I was like, I don't want you to be my buddy anymore. We learned that he learned how to dive before knowing how to swim. And
really,
we were doing the acting when you're acting like you're dying. He was very good at it. So at some point I was like, are you not acting? So we were all shocked that he was not a real swimmer. I mean, he figured it out,
yeah.
but yeah, we were like, I really don't want to be trapped in a situation that you actually need to save me. We love him. He's a great rescue diver, but yeah, he was scary to know that when you're also like learning yourself.
Oof. It's just like actors, how they put on their special skills a bunch of things that they don't actually do
I mean,
because they're just like, I'll figure it out if I get the part.
honestly, I think it's very courageous of him. Like he had dreams. He did not have the basis, but he continued trying. And he was traveling around the world doing his bucket list. Like what did you call the one thing that you run from a cliff and jump with like
Oh, with the hang gliding, like
yeah,
like this? Yeah.
he did that on a bunch of other things. So
Oh, okay.
I
Wow. If
met
he does that, but he can't swim, it's crazy. He's got range, bottom of the ocean to the top of the world.
yeah,
Damn, he's like Tom Cruise over there.
yeah,
All right. Well, so this is our kind of like sports edition,
yeah.
like
Save
extreme
yourself.
sports.
Like yeah, after school film crisis, find
This is
yourself.
way after film school. If you can't find work, become a
Well,
master diver. And wait,
it
so you could
actually kind of started like that. Like
really?
after not the dive master part, but like I've always wanted to do conservation and nature documentaries. That's kind of what brought me to actually do film school. Because I
Okay.
have a bachelor's in communications. I always wanted to be like steering and all that since like very little. Um, the summary of the story. So I love documentaries. I love nature. We learned that I am very good learner visually, but normal school was not for me.
Yeah.
Later we learned I have ADHD. So when I want to go into marine biology, my parents were like very conservative in a way. So you stay home until you get a certain age and then you can go. So start here, but it's like the middle of the country, the desert, so no ocean. So I started to do science in communication because the biology courses there were nothing interesting in what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I do science in communications with a focus in nonverbal communication and hybrid media to later do film. I spent a little working actually in science in communication in Australia in an organization called Landcare Australia, which is conservation driven. But that's when I realized, like, no, 9 to 5 is not my thing. So I want to do film. I want
Yeah.
to be insecure about my future every single day.
Don't
So
say that. No.
I come to Mexico to get experience in actual film industry. I work at the biggest rental house in Latin America. Back then, they did not hire women. So my interview, I literally had to stalk them until they interview me. And my interview was to hold the biggest case for 5 minutes. And then they were like, well, you have to work like a man. And I was like, dude, I'm most likely more like of a man like than you are, but
Wait, literally, like they were like, hold this for 5 minutes, and if you can
yeah, because they were
survive.
like, this is probably in Mexico, when you work at a rental house, you also are part of the crew. For
Mm.
example, you rent the camera and the lenses, and the second AC goes with you. Um,
Oh,
it's like a camera technician, but to
yeah.
save money, productions hire that person to be the second IC. Otherwise, they would have to pay them for an extra human being.
Right.
So it was perfect to gain experience. And I would be working every day from one job to another, commercials, feature films, everything. So it was great because the biggest DPs work with that company.
And did
So
you learn? So were you learning just by doing that? By learning about
yeah, it
cameras?
was literally hands-on, and I need to earn my spot, right? Because they didn't want me there, most of the men, because for the majority of them, they used to work in construction or taxi drivers, that kind of stuff. And someone helped them get into that company, but they to earn the growth. So to work in the camera department, you already spend like 5-10 years of your life learning.
Yeah.
But I literally, when they interviewed me, they were like, okay, now you need to go to the owner and ask for their permission to work here. I told them I only want to be here for like a year and a half so I can go to my master's. So for the majority of people there, I did not earn it. I was just like I had a favor. So they didn't want to help me. So I need to earn their respect. So it was hard. So half of the time I'll be like, okay, I do your job, but you teach me while I'm doing it. So they get the pay, I'll get the learning. That's how it was. But I also had to work in the rental, putting the lists together, because for commercial sometimes they send the list and the commercial happens the next day. So you as the technician have to put all the equipment together and make sure that it's functional, because no one did the prep. It's like very quick paced. For
Yeah.
features and narrative, they do go do the prep, but sometimes for commercials they don't. The camera rental needs to do it for them. So it was great learning experience. Intense. So that allows me to come to AFI, and then cut to 2020.
Hold on, slow down, slow down. You're skipping across, skipping over all the good parts. You said they didn't hire women, right?
Yeah.
So you had to convince them, and you had to win them over, right?
Yeah.
What how hard was that? What was like the worst harassment you got in a way, or did you just instantly become one of the guys?
Um, so first of all, the manager of the camera department, his name, they nicknamed him Ram, and a grumpy old man. He passed a few years ago, but I learned to love him, and I think it was mutual. At the beginning, I didn't know why he was so rough on me, because he was like, "You're just being mean," but he was trying to prepare me for what was coming. There, you don't get paid in 6 months from your first job. So he told me that he was literally treating me how other people would treat me, because they did not trust a gal to be able to carry the weight, because it's very physical. Like
Right.
the cases that you're carrying, for example, one lens, the 24-90 of Optimo, it's very big, and the case is even bigger. It's literally like a human being, the weight. and I didn't have my card, my AC card. So I literally had to carry it in on my shoulder because the other guys didn't let me theirs because they needed it for their work, or they didn't. I was taking also job opportunities from them. So it's very competitive. So at some point, an older guy is told by Ram that he needs to take me and teach me. And he was like, literally like, no, she's probably going to be too weak or too slow. She might not understand anything. So I overheard that, and I literally screamed from the other room. It's like, come on, I'm stronger than you. You're old, and like, I'm going to help you. So, and they
By the way, I
laughed.
love that you have not changed in all this time. Yeah, because that's exactly what you would do now.
Yeah, like no shame. And I was like, I understand. I don't know. I respected them. So in a way, they didn't, when they get to know me also, they started respecting me. But some people, again, did not wanted me there. For example, another kid that was working at the camera house, the department, sorry, he was not getting sent to set because he needed to earn it. So again, you put together all the equipment, the lenses and everything. So I needed to do that to earn a few days on set. And one time the manager Ram tells me, like, you send the wrong lenses, because some DPs are very particular with the lenses they know, and they send the serial number. I want this cook, this range with these numbers, and you need to make sure that you send those. So he's like, what the fuck? You did not send the lenses for this big ass DP, no? And I was like, no, man, I send them. A couple of times that happened, and one time I'm like, I'm sure like this kid is doing something. So I pretend to leave. I finish my day and I pretend to leave, but I go to the back. This is like an airplane warehouse. It's massive, right? And like one row is like Costco. One row has this, another row has that. And at the back, they had all the filters, and no one went to the filters. So I'm there like hiding. And I see him open my box. And I remember they were like the cook lenses. And I see him take one of them. And I'm like, you bastard. So I wait for him to go to the back. And I grab him and was like, I grab him from the neck, and he's like, you little shit. You don't do that. And if you do that again, like, it might get physical if that's the only way you learn. So
So he was like intentionally doing this just to mess with your reputation.
Because like, if you don't send the right equipment to this DP, there's a reason for you to get fired. So in a way, he wanted me to be out of the picture so he can start going to set. Because again, so yeah, I basically was like, okay, if you want to do this like man, you might beat me, but I'm gonna give you one or two well put. Huh? I'm not proud of that, but it was like, what else do you do? I already tried to do half of them. So it worked. But yeah, for other people, literally, I would get like harassed. They were not intentionally or not actively trying to be, I don't know how to say it. It was not real, but the harassment was there for me to leave. So they would do like sexual innuendos, or like it was sexual, but no one did anything really. It was just to put stress on me to leave.
Right. It's the mental harassment.
But then I was like, okay, this is how you act. I'm gonna do the same. So whatever, it's open that I'm gay. So I would be like, oh yeah, that sounds so good. Maybe when your daughter is of age, that kind of stuff. So they would be like, oh, stop it. You don't say that. It's like, treat me like you want someone to treat your daughter. Come on. Like, so yeah, it was not easy. It took a minute to also to shut it off. I became like a pirate attitude-wise sometimes on set. So it was, it was a rough era, but it was fun, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Sadly, probably good prep and training for, working on sets. Although hopefully that's gotten better.
Yeah, it's very military back there in a way that whoever is on top of you can, or it was,
Yeah.
they can treat you as they want. So if they need to, if they are angry, they can be very rude to you.
Yeah.
So you can be humiliated half of the time. So I did, that was hard to shut off, because I did learn how to react very roughly. So when I was here, sometimes at AFI, you are working with people that not like they are not even working, they are volunteering for you in exchange of experience. And by then I was already a quite good AC, and I learned to be very specific in my workflows and maintain the equipment, this and that. And sometimes when I explain the workflow or how things were supposed to be managed, some people didn't get it, and my attitude or my response was how I learned. So it was, I had to learn again to be kind, because I didn't like that version of myself.
Is
So
that what you learned when you came to school?
yeah, because it's different here. It's not like no one is getting paid, everyone is doing it out of passion, and half of the people who are working with us in your cinematography department, they are there to help you too, and they are also gaining something out of it. So there's no reason for you to treat them anywhere anything different than kindness. But yeah, again, you're programmed in one way, so it was hard for me to rewire that.
Yeah.
I
All right.
think for most people, because you're at AFI, I think everyone is really thinking that this is their shot and they need to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And for some, it's like, including myself, like you put all your resources in that basket, so you don't want to mess it up. So your passions are high, you're tired, you want the respect of your peers, you want to make your family proud. So there's a lot of emotional intensity in there. So sometimes when you're on set, plus the tiredness, the stress of actual set, makes you not be your best version. But I think that's part of film school. In a way, you learn how, like, it's not the end of the world. If you don't get it all, it's gonna be fine. You have to figure something out, because that's also how it's gonna happen outside. And you cannot be mean or grumpy all your life. So
Film school feels like it's like there's a third of it is like the technical part, right? Which you can teach, and a third of it is like the art and craft of it, which you can kind of work on. And then the other third is the interpersonal relationships, right? We call it collaboration, which is like you just have to learn it by going through it and failing and going through it and failing and then going, oh, or you just never learn it. Like some people just never are good at that.
I actually remember when we had the inductions at AFI, they were like, oh, there's psychological support. And I literally was like, it's film school. Like, take it easy. Don't be so dramatic. Because we also had like the earthquake, what to do in case of earthquake. And
I
I was like,
remember that. Yeah.
people are very dramatic here.
Well, you know,
but then
artists.
some of the people, even like the toughest humans, were really going to therapy at AFI. And to me, that's the hardest part. It's like you do put your heart and soul and you give your best, but no film requires anyone to lose their mind for real or to lose your happiness. And I think if you are able to balance the emotional level or your emotional range as a human being working on set, that's when you do your best work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great advice. Hard to realize, you know, whenever, like you said, when everyone's like trying to make their best work and there's this competitive nature, even though that's not part of the program, it's just comes out. But you know, we always need people like you to kind of like to check people, you know, just like the kind of the level-headed stoic people. Did you ever get pushback from that of like, oh, you don't care enough because you're not fighting with everyone?
No, on the contrary, I think I learned also from seeing other people act similarly to me, how the other side is. And there's nothing admirable or inspiring about that grumpy or rude person on set. And I remember once I was even volunteering for other film school, helping a guy that came to help us. And I was gaffing. And the AD, who was a student at this school, like yelled at me and was so disrespectful. And I literally stood up and I was like, you don't treat me like that. And until you don't change your tone, I'm not coming back to light this scene. And I was fired.
Oh, oh wow. I didn't think it was going to go that way.
Yeah. But then I was like, you know what? If someone that treats people like that, it's more important on a set than someone that stands up and is better at what they're doing, because at this point I was already quite a good gaffer. It's like they are the ones losing, and I don't want to be in a set where I'm mistreated like this.
Yeah.
And experiences like that were the ones that opened my eyes, and it's like there's no reason for me not to make an enjoyable experience for anyone on set. That doesn't mean that to this day it's not hard for me sometimes when you're like really trying to get a shot or something is not working, that you cannot have a tone or whatever. Like, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but sometimes it's like it's very hard to regulate tone, emotions, and move fast and whatever. But I do try every day to be kind and a better version of myself than I was on the previous set. Because I think if you're not having fun or making it enjoyable for other people, you're not truly a teammate,
Yeah.
because you don't know really what the other person is going through.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I always try to remind people when I see like, fellows like stressed out over thesis and they're crying. You remember those days, right? You just walk by them in the parking lot. Try to go like, remember when you just wanted to go into this because it was fun?
Yeah.
Because it was like hanging out with your friends and making something.
Yeah.
Like that's what you got to remind yourself of that.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing this. And to entertain other people with your work.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be taken that seriously. But so I want to go back one last thing about like your experience working with that camera house, because you said they serviced all like the top DPs in Mexico, right? So did you get to work under any of those like amazing people that we know now and learn from them?
Um, yes, but also I am terrible with names, and back then I was very ignorant about who were the biggest DPs. Like, I knew movies and I knew work, but
Yeah,
I didn't really care enough about who made the movies.
yeah.
Because this was actually a question Lighthill asked me in my interview: who are your favorite DPs? And I was like, to be honest, I don't have none, because I don't care enough about who makes the movie. I care about the product.
The
And
answer is Stephen Lighthill.
it
That's
was
the
a real,
answer.
it was a real answer. But I have come to learn that even though it's an honest answer, and it's a fine answer for some people, I think that knowing who makes what and seeing their career, you also learn of how they are learning. So it's a
Mm,
different way of observing someone's work.
yeah.
If you are seeing the movie as an individual product, it works. But if you want to learn from other people's journeys, I think you need to analyze the pool of work. And for that, you need to know filmmakers in particular as individuals. So yes, I did work with some, but funnily enough, some of them I had no clue who they were until later. But I do have a favorite one, who was the sweetest human being, and to this day I consider my mentor, Carlos Hidalgo. He's one of the biggest names down there, and he has done a lot. And he gave me my first opportunity to work as in the camera department. It was before I entered the rental house. I By then I met some people that led me to know other people. So in every job I went, I meet someone new that helped me get into a bigger project and la la la. So I did behind the scenes for a movie called Cantinflas. I don't know if you know Cantinflas. He's
No.
a comedian from the golden era of Mexican cinema. He has
Ah,
like a little mustache, and it was like every
sounds like
Mexican,
me. Yeah.
Latin American, every Latin American knows him. So
Okay.
they made a biopic of him, and Carlos DP'd it.
Ah,
And I was doing behind the scenes, and I kind of sometimes will get close to the camera people, and they were like, get away, you're not cool enough. So one time he asked me, my name and what did I want to do. And I start telling him like, oh, I want to be a DP. So if you have anything to share, please, I'm here to learn. So sometimes he let me like take a peek and he would explain to me what he was doing. And since then, like he just opened his knowledge and his heart to me, and he gave me my first camera operator job with a Phantom for a cookie commercial down there. So like that kind of stuff.
Nice.
He's the sweetest person, and he helps a lot of people get into it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you did get to shoot a little down there because obviously you had to apply to AFI with a reel, right?
Very little. Like I
Very
had
little.
stuff from college.
Mm-hmm.
I was mainly an editor and a producer doing
Oh,
little
I didn't know
documentary.
that. Wow.
Yeah, but I was afraid of cameras. So in my last project, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because it's now or never. It doesn't matter if I fuck up. It's a cool project, whatever. So we did a documentary about female taxi drivers, which were not a thing back then. It was only like 4 in the city. My sister makes fun of me because I have this. It's like an old person's.
I love it. I love it so much.
So yeah, I shot that with another student, and yeah, I fell in love with it, and it was like, yeah, I think camera is my thing. So I start shooting a little things here and there, but really I didn't have a lot of experience. It was mostly hybrid media, meaning like I would shoot something and using my graphic design and editing work, I would do like animations.
Mm.
So when I'm at the rental house, I earned the chance to rent from them. So they would let me use whatever they had available for little price. And that's how I shot my short, which I used to apply to
Ah.
AFI. It was about mariachis, like young kids, because mariachi 15 years ago was not a thing that much. It kind of lost their
Oh,
mojo for a minute. So
yeah.
young people were not learning the craft. So for a while, you would only see like older men and very few females, but very few young people. So the documentary was about how to keep it alive and why some young men were still doing it and a few gals. So yeah, but I see it and it's cute. It was a cute attempt, but I mean, I think good enough
I
to
mean, were
be.
you doing everything? Were you were the DP? Were you also like the
uh,
director?
I work with a producer friend of mine, 2 producer friends of mine who were actually producers. So
Mm.
they were super kind to help me. And some men from the rental house who already liked me, they came and helped me one day to AC, one day for this and that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that what you showed on Reel Day?
No, and I remember what you said, 'cause I start with nude from an abstract art piece. I help a painter. Um, she needed some abstract art to be part of her museum in Querétaro, where I'm from. She needed a video to be one of the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So she explained to me what each abstract painting was about, and I had to represent that with images, visual moving images. And some were about a woman dancing, pretending to be the ocean. And yeah, I remember, I mean, I like those, and that's what I start with.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And literally you come out and it's like, what nudes or something. And it was like, oh my God, this guy.
Do you
But
remember
yeah,
that day though? Because it's like the second day of school, and it's everyone's like showing stuff for the first time. A lot of times, first time seeing it on the big screen. There's a lot of like anxiety happening and kind of like comparing yourselves to each other, even though that's not the point of it. What was going through your head that day?
I was so, I don't know, I had imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
because some of the people's work were like so amazing, and like actual, I think there's a DP, Joshua from my year, and I think he had like someone Metallica or something in their reel, and I was like, or I don't know, like some beautiful work from everyone. So seeing my stuff and knowing how it got made, I literally was like, do I deserve to be here? So I think honestly, that day, even though I know you don't do it anymore, no?
No, I don't do it anymore. Yeah.
I think that day is what made a lot of people break and be so insecure about themselves that that's why the emotional drama happens after, because they are so insecure about themselves. Because yeah, it's literally you're comparing yourself to some people that have been doing it forever and some people haven't done it at all. So
Yeah.
it was hard to manage, like the insecurities about like, and then the pitch day, and some people don't get
Oh yeah.
paired. So that week is very rough, and I think it makes a lot of people break, including me, I think.
Including me. You
I
don't
was
break.
so
You just
depressed
made that
after
clear.
I was so depressed after pitch day, because I remember I wanted to work, I think with Rosita, and she got paired immediately with Fabian, one of my dearest friends.
Yeah.
And their first short was amazing, very beautiful. But yeah, everyone that I really wanted to pair with was immediately taken. And then there's a bunch of people that I didn't even remember. So yeah, it was.
The leftovers. But the beauty of the structure here is like making 3 films is,
Yeah.
you know, people notice you then after your first one or your
Yeah.
second one, and then your work speaks for itself, right?
Yeah. No, I get what it is, because it's also, it really prepares you for outside. Like that's how it's gonna go. The cool people get paired first, regardless.
Yeah.
And also people that are alike will pair because they enjoy being together outside of set. That's,
Hmm.
I think, the reality of it, because you're on set so many hours, but the preparation and everything, it's so long that you need to enjoy who you are with outside of set, because otherwise it's miserable.
Yeah. So what was the biggest learning curve when I talk about like the 3 big, like the technical, the artistic, or the interpersonal?
To me, it was human relations and emotional regulation of myself.
Mm.
um Again, I was also very insecure half of the time, but I also knew my potential. I don't want to sound cocky, but to this day, like I know what I'm capable of. So when I'm not getting it, it's very frustrating. And I
Yeah.
think one of the toughest emotions for me is frustration. And this I also learned while in therapy. This might help for other people with ADHD. Frustration and emotional regulation is extremely hard. And
Mm.
that's how a lot of kids are diagnosed based on how they react to frustration. So it's a biggie. So it's not a joke that frustration is a thing for people with ADHD. So sometimes you don't know how to regulate it. So immediately you just explode or get angry and want to kick someone, that kind of stuff. So yeah, for me, human interactions and also evaluating myself and who I wanted to be was the biggest lesson at AFI.
Yeah.
Then I did learn, I mean, every cinematographer who has been through the program now is like how much you learn about the technical aspects and like the set experience. It was literally a before and after. Like I had no idea how to actually work with any lighting equipment. Um, my OCD with cabling. I work a lot as a best girl electric. So that gave me a lot of experience of how to do distro
Yeah.
and balance the loads, all kind of stuff. But that one, like before and after, now I'm really comfortable working in most positions on set. To this day, I still work sometimes as a gaffer. So yeah, that one. And also like my knowing my worth in a way, like not allowing what other people think. Sometimes professors are also rough and they have their favorites,
Yeah.
but they're also humans, so they have a taste for either people or work. So I
Yeah.
don't think a professor can be fully objective. So not putting them in a pedestal, like respecting their opinion and whatever, but also not putting in a pedestal that they can define who I was as a filmmaker. Uh, so those 3, I think, are the biggest for me.
That's very well said. Because yeah, they are human, and what they're, judging you on is something subjective, right? Which is art. So they have their own personal tastes. It's always going to come out. What about the thing that a lot of people have to adjust to, especially at this school at AFI, which is getting critiqued, and in a very brutally honest way, and in a way where you can't defend yourself, where you just have to take it.
Oh,
How did you adjust to that? How did you take that?
I think that is the best part of the screenings, the Thursday screenings. I don't know if that's still happening.
Yeah,
I
narrative
think
workshop.
it's so necessary. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't take that well. My background helped me take it. Because again, ADHD, I'm a queer gal since I was born in a very conservative environment, so I never fit in. So I constantly had feedback, but also I got in trouble. My personality. I don't get bullied. I don't let other people bully me. But being a non-feminine gal growing up, that gave me a lot of reasons to be bullied. So not letting myself be bullied caused more bullying. So yeah, I was constantly at the principals, that kind of stuff. So I was in therapy a lot, thanks to my family. They knew I needed the emotional support, plus the frustration as a child. So my parents got me into therapy early on. So in a way, feedback and learning where you can improve and how you could be better in general, that was part of my life growing up. So that doesn't mean that it's not hard to hear it, but in a way I kind of had experience with it. But I never really felt bad about the feedback. In my class, at least, everyone was respectful of how they gave you feedback.
Yeah.
So it was not to be rude or any personal vendettas. Everyone was very professional about it. So the feedback that you would get was actually very useful.
Yeah. Because that's the other half of what you're learning is how to give feedback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but everyone laughed about me when I stood up every single time because a lot of
Because
people
you're
are taller
short, so
than me. Yeah.
you
But
had to be
also,
heard.
I always felt that when you're saying especially things that you don't like about a film, like not seeing people to the eye and hiding yourself in the crowd was not honorable. So in a way, it's especially if I'm not saying something positive, I want you to see who's saying it in a way of showing respect. But yeah, everyone laughed. Every time you hear the seat unfold or whatever, it's Jessica.
Jessica standing up I love that. It's honorable to own it. Yeah, that's how it should be. You should stand up and own your comments. Yeah.
I mean,
I
if
love
you're
that.
saying something, own it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I talked to Lauren Gutierrez. You know Lauren, right? Last week or 2 weeks, and I asked her about this because you're both you're both shorter people, and I can say this because I'm short, but and I asked her if it was
There's nothing
ever.
wrong with being short.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. But what
In American culture, it says if you're telling someone they're short, it's almost like an insult. People sometimes quiet down when they say the words like that. It's there's
well, that's how
nothing
I
wrong
felt.
with
But
it. It's a quality. It's as
well,
if
it's more sensitive for men to be considered short. I don't know why, but I've accepted it. I'm good with it. But I was asking her because she likes to operate a lot. I said, is it ever a challenge? You're shorter and you're operating I don't know. It felt like a legitimate question. And she was like, no, that's what Apple boxes are for or whatever. So to you, the same question, is it ever a challenge?
I mean, if you have to do a walking shot, slow, because if there's a rocky move, powerful, there's no it's easier. But if you need to walk from apple box to apple box, a tracking, yeah. And there was a movie I shot in Mexico 2018. Thankfully, the actor was also Mexicans were short, so he was not taller than me in a big difference. But the actors was. So I think he had to work a little on apple boxes, and I had to work on apple boxes. So that one was complicated to execute for everyone, but I mean, the majority of times, taller people tend to go down with the camera. So I think it's harder for them. Easy rigs, and they put it down, or like they hunch or whatever. So the majority of taller people, I think, struggle putting the camera a little lower, because eye level, when you're that tall, I think it's, for some people, not that interesting.
Yeah.
So some angles are better from below or whatever. So this is something Andres Solorzano told me once, because when I was, we were talking about this because I was operating a short that he would soon premiere here in LA. But whatever, I was operating and we were talking about it, and he was like, no, half of the time I am lowering myself. So the fact that you're a little shorter, it's perfect.
There you go. We're just better is what all you're saying, right?
Yeah. I one time, Talasar, a professor of ours, he wanted us to pitch who was gonna operate for an exercise. And I literally raised my hand and was like, I think I'm perfect for this job, because it's a very tight space. So having a shorter person allows you to put more equipment in places or whatever. And he was like, that's kind of very good. You got it.
I love it. All right. So since this is called after film school, so an important part is like, how do you start that career, your post film school career? So what were the steps, and were you thinking about it when you were getting towards your end of film school? Were you like, oh, how do I start working here? Did you have to think about the OPT, O1 visa thing? Talk us through that part.
I think okay, my experience is as a foreign ex-student. So I think it's different for Americans or people who can work here.
Yeah.
As a student, after you graduate, you get 1 year to work here, the OPT. And in that year, if you don't have a lot of experience, you have to prove or create a portfolio that will help you apply for the O1 visa to stay here. And they ask a lot of you to show off your work, and the more the merrier. So you usually it's 5 projects, more it's better. But so I had nothing that was in festivals prior. Thankfully, my thesis was super well received. We went to festivals in Europe, Camerimage.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
Cine Gear. So that also put me in a good place for people to put my name out there. But it was literally, one, I needed to get money because I had lost by then all the money from the scholarships. The loan from Mexico was done. So I needed to work, but again, no opportunity. So my fellow cinematographers, the closest ones, were the ones that helped. If someone had something, you work for them in either position. Again, the versatility of my personal experience helped, because I knew ACing, gaffing, key grip. I'm not the best, but I can do it. So I could work in a lot of things. But that's also when I start to do the underwater cinematography. So I would also have another area to work. But yeah, it was literally sometimes working for $50, like whatever it was. And I also had the experience of on set, sometimes you know someone that might give you an opportunity in another one. So your ego could let you pass on a lot of work, especially if you know it's bad. But and knowing from experience in Mexico that sometimes the crappiest job might open and lead you to success later. Oopsie, sorry. Yeah, it was my motto, like just keep going, don't like cruise through it, and then one opportunity will lead you to something bigger and bigger, and you one day will just be the peak.
Well, and that's another thing is like, crewing for others to get paid, which you need to do, right, to survive is important. But then you also have to think like you always have to keep getting those cinematographer credits, right? So that you can keep building it up and up, and then hopefully eventually get the feature ones.
I mean, also there's a balance, I think, on how much you take, because sometimes I learned this later. Once you already have the experience and network, taking jobs that are low pay, those are usually the ones that you suffer the most. Why? Because you're going to be understaffed. Most likely they are the greedier ones. And oftentimes you have to do a lot of it yourself. So it's exhausting mentally, physically, and emotionally, because also it comes sometimes in those you work with people that don't have the experience, so they don't know how much you're doing. So you're also devaluated in like how much you're doing. So it's hard on you. Some people don't know how to honor also your work. So it's sometimes hard on the soul.
Yeah.
So to this day, I do, when I know I'm getting a job like that offer, I also interview whoever is doing it. And if I don't like them as humans, I don't do the job. If I like I learn to get 2 out of 3. Either it's good pay, good story, or people I would enjoy to spend time outside of set. If I get 2 of those, I do it. Whatever it is. Because sometimes you get the money, but the story sucks or like the people suck. So you need to choose your battles. But yeah, I also think that it's very detrimental to sometimes take a lot of work if you already are getting enough money to get yourself by, or you're already having the projects that you are aiming for. So.
Yeah. And I know like you and I have worked together in a couple of interesting ways in that like you were the
Remember that cake one?
well, that's what I was going to bring up. I was going to say like, so, you know, you were the still photographer for, you know, AFI shooting headshots, which was, you know, interesting and kind of outside of what you had done before. But then also there was that birthday party that we shot, right? So, but that leading to the question of like, what's one of the weirdest things that you did for as a job, you know, as a cinematographer? Because sometimes people, you know, just like, I want you to shoot, you know.
I've done some weird ass things, but the first that comes to mind, I did not do it, but it was like the weirdest proposition ever. And I did whatever work, and the PA was the quietest, sweetest girl. Cut to 6 months later, a year later, I don't remember. She hits me up and is like, I have this project that I would love you to be part of. When can we meet to talk? Because I would like to like explain it in person. I was like, oh yeah, let's go to a bar that's around my house, around the corner. But it's the acoustics suck. Tabula rasa.
Oh yeah, I know.
You
I
cannot
know.
hear anything.
Yeah.
So she's there with her boyfriend. They're two super shy human beings. So half of it, I was like, what? They spoke very quiet. So they were like, yeah, it's we want to do this. It's almost like music videos for couples, but it's also, you know, very artistic and whatever. So to make the long story short, I put one-on-one together, and they wanted to do some sort of like soft porn, because like making people's fantasies, like video fantasies, a reality, but in an artistic way.
So like with real couples?
Yeah. So it's like you are a couple and you want, I don't know, whatever, to be shot in this way, or like in this scenario, it's like a music video, and I would be there shooting. But again, half of the time I'm not understanding what they're saying.
Well, now
So
I know why they were
I
whispering.
was
Yeah.
very, very chill about it. I thought, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, tell me more. And what's the budget? But later the boyfriend like keep going and went deep on it. And that's when I understood. He said, oh my God, they are asking me basically to do soft porn. And I was like, well, what's the budget?
Yeah, see, money's one of the things. So how did that turn out?
No, I think I was like, yeah, sure, keep me posted or whatever. And I think a year later, they were in a sex convention in New York, and they asked me if I wanted to go or whatever to
What?
introduce me to the team. And I was like, sorry, I don't think this project is for me, but thank you. I don't know what happened. And there's another one. There's a lot. I mean, recently I also work, well, not recently, a year ago, I helped this trumpet musician. She's doing a documentary about the industry. A year ago, she asked me to shoot the live performance of a concert for the Grammy week. We started working. She asked me to put a budget to do 4 plans. build a crew. And I told her, okay, but you need to pay me per production. Yes, we will pay you later once the job is done. And I was like, no, because you're asking me to start a year earlier, basically. So per production and post-production. Normally, if the job happens quickly, you get it all at the end. But in this case, and I also knew she's one of those that tells you a lot about it, like makes it big, but she's very disorganized. So I saw some red flags and I was like, no, you need to pay me. It's like, okay, in December, I'll pay you. To this day, nothing. And like stooding up for myself, she was literally like, oh, sorry, no, there's no budget for it all. We need to cancel the shoot. So things like that are more the weird part of it. Like,
Yeah.
people who hype it up and make other people work, those are more often the case than actual weird experiences. So yes, I've done weird jobs, but I don't know what in particular comes to mind.
No, those were good ones.
I mean, the cake one.
Well,
Fill a room with balloons and shot testimonials for a birthday. That's a weird
that
one.
was wild. And then it was, remember, we were editing it live,
Yeah.
and then we showed it that same night towards the end of the
Well,
party.
you showed it. We were still in the room.
Oh yeah, you were still in the room.
Hiding.
Yeah, hiding. And they never asked for the like a longer version, or like I still have all that footage. It's crazy. It's beautiful though. You did good. Are you dying? Is it really hot over there?
I live in a third floor, so it's hot. And then
Yeah.
I close the windows for the sound. So I am
Oh,
actually very hot, but
okay.
it's
Well, don't worry. It's
like
not going to go much
working on
longer.
set.
Not going much longer. We've
No.
been over an hour now.
Oh, well, I actually know which is the weirdest project I've done, but honestly, the best one, the most rewarding, the one I just shot. A year ago, we were in Mississippi, really like tripping, doing like a weird movie with very like incredibly peculiar cast and crew as well. So that one, I think it's one of the oddest projects I've been.
Yeah.
But also honestly one of the most fun, and like everyone, chef's kiss. I love the whole team. It's one of those that you actually enjoy, but it was excruciating.
Because of the conditions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Wait, what was that? That's not adult best friends, right?
yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to get to that because is that your first like feature, English language feature at least?
No, I shot one while at AFI.
You shot a feature at AFI? What? The AFI wasn't hard enough?
Like, he was like, you're gonna regret it, like, with his deep voice. I pitched, I made this production, everything, like to convince him, because you're not allowed to skip class to work.
Right.
But I built my case, and I told him everything and how good of an opportunity it was for me. And he literally just looked at me and he's like, if you want to do it, do it. But you're gonna regret it. He was right.
He usually is, yeah.
Yeah, we shot in Long Beach, I think, with a bunch of very nice people. So some of them became lasting friendships, but the movie, the story might have been there, but the experience wasn't, and the final product showed it. So, but it was a great learning experience of what not to do in further projects. Then, the other feature I shot was in Mexico, so that was in Spanish.
Right.
And then I shot this one with a crew, a director that I've been working with for a while, but mostly in documentaries. We are working on a feature, but documentary still happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
wait, so Delaney, right? Delaney Buffett. You've been working with her for a while.
Yeah.
So okay, I was gonna ask you how you got this feature, but it's because you've had a relationship.
Yeah, Frankie Chen
Yeah.
knew me from New York.
Yeah.
They work together. And Frankie now lives in New York. She's based there. And Delaney, right after the pandemic, moved here and needed someone to shoot like some content for Elizabeth Taylor's AIDS organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, she called me. She says, Frankie says hello. And yeah, anything that is related to Frankie, I do, especially if she recommends this human being. So yeah, I show up to set to do a location scout. Delaney, she's just a very fun and interesting human being, and Marie, the producer, as well. Like, it's like you just see them, it's epic the first seconds that you meet them. And yeah, we shot. I love them both. They're also like, back then, Marie particularly, I think, was a little inexperienced on set.
Uh-huh.
But they are both like, yeah, we can do it all. And they were like, okay, we're gonna need someone to drive the van, but there's no budget. Who's gonna do it? And they're like, we're doing this. We can park it in my house, no problem. But Marie, I think, just had her license.
Oh my God.
The next day they show up and like the van is like massively injured.
Oh no.
Whatever, we had insurance, and like, I don't know, they're always positive,
Yeah.
and always up for anything. They're extremely capable human beings. So if they don't have the experience, they know they're just somehow gonna figure it out. And yeah, they put together a couple of other projects. Marie, I think, started to do her thing with Zachary in the production company. Delaney also has a production company with another amazing human being. And with those two is the ones that I was working mostly doing documentaries. They have a sense to find, like a sixth sense to find very weird stories. So their documentaries are always incredibly fun to work on. But yeah, most of the work was documentary. And then one day she hit me up, I think I'm ready to do my first feature. Would you do it? And I say yes.
So it was like it was no interview audition process. It was like you're our person.
Yeah, she was upfront. She was like, there's very limited resources, and I also want to act. Are you up for it? And again, to me, the most important thing is enjoying those who you're gonna work with. And I adore working with her. And also, by then, she also knows about my personal goals of working in conservation and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So she was very supportive of, I put together like a concept for a TV show that hasn't been picked up, but she was like, okay, maybe if you talk to this person, or this person can help you, give you advice, like super supportive of me. So I also wanted to pay back and support her in the best of my capacity, do this movie.
Yeah. So talk about the challenge of your director is the star of the movie, and for you as the cinematographer.
Well, in that first movie I made, that director also act.
Oh.
Did he? No, sorry, it was a few shorts I worked. And by then you realize that it's most often a bad idea. So I spoke to her and was like, okay, there's a lot to deal with while you're on set, especially because in documentary, you are more, I mean, it's also super hard to go with the flow, but you can adapt and just deal with it. On set of a narrative, in a way, it's, I mean, things are going to happen, so your attention needs to be on adapting. But then if you're acting, how do you switch it up in between takes or whatever? So I spoke to her. I told her upfront, if you want to do it, I support you, but I just want you to know that I usually wouldn't take a job like this, because sometimes it's a perfect storm. And she says, no, it makes sense for me because the story is also somehow based on my relationship with my best friend, and her best friend is the co-star. So she had her reasons, and I also know, again, she might not have experience in a lot of things, but she's an extremely capable human being. So if she believes that she got it, I know she's somehow gonna find a way to do it. So I knew it was gonna be very hard for me, but again, I also took it because I wanted to be supportive of her. And I don't know, I think I'm not the only person who can say this about her. Like, she has a quality, like super nice vibe, and she's so kind that half of the time you're just rooting for her and wanting her to get the best experience also, because she's also trying that for everyone. So you just try your best. But yeah, again, I think this movie has been the toughest project of my life. Not so much on the requirements of it to get done, made, but the actual project, how it happened, it was super hard.
It was hard. So wait, just give us the basics, like how many days shoot, and you were in Mississippi, you said?
Yeah, I think we were 2 weeks in Mississippi and 2.5 weeks here in LA. But yeah, Mississippi, we flew to New Orleans, drove to Mississippi, and I think the next day we started. So it was intense. Yeah.
So no like scouting, no
Yeah, we
prep.
went scouting, I think somewhere in June.
Oh, okay.
We scout for a day. Again, it was weird because the key grip and the UPM, I think that was his title. Two dudes that I'd never met before. Of course, Delaney spoke with and found them. They were just cruising us around in a golf cart and a pickup, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you want a bar? Yeah, let's go to Rudy's or whatever." And like, let's go to Mark. And we were literally going, and they were drinking at every single bar, like the whole day. But yeah, it was one of them is a real estate agent as well.
Oh,
So it was like, oh, you're looking for a house like this? Oh, let me call Matt or whatever. And then we just show up at Matt's house. Or one person was like, oh, I'm not there, but just let yourself in. And you were just walking around someone's house. So yeah, the scout was interesting.
wait, so it was like a year ago in Mississippi, like the hottest place on earth.
Yeah, and most of the Mississippi scenes are indoors of a house. So imagine 9 people, I think, nine
Oh,
actors,
yeah.
everyone, no AC. Yeah, it was it was rough. I kid you not, half of the time when I had my eye on the viewfinder, I
Yeah.
had to like step out a little because it was like filled with sweat. And yeah, it was challenging because also we didn't want to do overnights, and half of it's at night. So we had to tent the house. So that would also make the heat
Oh
stay.
yeah, let's keep the heat in. Yeah, good idea.
And yeah, again, it was super ambitious to do
Yeah.
in the amount of time that we had. Also with the reduced experience crew, the heat, there were also some personal things going on that make it had an emotional load for some of the main people, the brains of the operation.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it was, yeah, very, very hard. Plus, also, I was literally trying to prepare to leave to Mozambique because I also had to find someone to stay here at my studio. By then, I realized in South Africa they changed the laws for Mexicans, so now I needed to get a visa.
Oh,
So it was like
a
it was
lot.
a bunch of other stuff happening. So
Yeah. All right, so going back to the onset, like because she was acting, Delaney, were you ever like, because you're the closest person to her, right? When you're operating, did she ever rely on you for like, how was that? Yeah.
a lot. But also 90% of the cast was their friend. They were
Mhm.
like literally all best friends.
Yeah.
So Marie particularly, she's very blunt and one of those people that get away with like, you like her with being so unfiltered. But literally you would hear her from, oh, I hate it. And like she was bawling her eyes, and we were all like, Jesus, Marie. And
Not something that actors are used to hearing,
yeah,
but
so
yeah.
yeah, she relied on me a lot about the technical aspect, but the acting and the vulnerability, Katie is literally her best friend.
Hmm.
So she was also a lot on the monitors, and Marie. And well, I mean, if Marie say something beautiful about it, you took it, because she was very upfront when she did it. But it was very funny to hear her, because she speaks like this also. So you would hear her on Video Village, just like, oh, I hate that.
That's so great to hear, though. Like your most recent project is your most like, satisfying, fulfilling, and a good experience.
As a DP, I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but until you see the project, because seeing rough cuts, it's rough,
Mm.
especially for morale. But again, I think I don't want to be arrogant, but I know what I'm capable of. And sometimes when you don't have the resources in time and budget or equipment to get there, or what like circumstances happen to delay you, or something happens always that you cannot get things done the way you want, it you don't question yourself, like, and if you're doing it right, if you're actually as good as you think. So I actually seeing it on the screen, because I was also in Mozambique half of the post-production. I couldn't attend the color in person because I was in Colombia. I was waiting for my visa to get renewed every 3 years. Um, so I couldn't come back. So we did color remotely. So I'm there in a closet with the computer, also relying on the colorist and Marie and Delaney. Um, so the first time I actually saw the color as it was supposed to be P3, it was on the Tribeca screen. So it was very rewarding to watch and to actually be proud of it. But in the meantime, I was second guessing myself a lot. I was like, did I do it right? Did I
Yeah.
do my best? Could I have done it differently? And with the majority of my projects, I actually see them as, oh, I could have done way better. Like
Yeah.
opportunity to be better. I don't know if this happens to most, but most of the time I feel proud of what I did physically and how I conducted myself. But there's always I could have done more, or
Yeah.
if I had more resources.
No, I think that means that you are an artist. That's always my favorite quality in someone, no matter how accomplished they are. It's like they are always like, I could have done a little better. Could have done. That's what's
Yeah.
going to push you, as you advance in your career. So don't lose that insecure part of yourself. That's all I'm saying.
I don't, it's insecurity, but I don't know. Like also you see the work of your peers and like
Yeah.
people that you have actually seen how they work. And for example, Kalila, Fabian, Andres, Eli Aronson had a movie also there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to attend because I landed the day that they premiere. But like knowing how good they are, and when you see people's work and you actually see and admire it, and then you're coming from almost the exact same timeline, so
Yeah.
it's like, when am I gonna be able to do something? I mean, Eli is killing it, right? He just got the Warner Brothers movie
Yeah.
with the
But you said
Costa
Eli?
family. Yeah, Eli Aronson.
Oh, yeah. The movie that just came out is like
Yeah.
big budget. It's,
It's funny because I'm in Colombia seeing all the trailers and whatever, and it's like, oh, that actually looks cool. I want to watch it. And then he posted something about Tribeca, and I was like, I want to see what he's been up to. And I click, and it's like the Watchers, no? I was like, damn, I always knew that he was gonna kill it, but it's like, don't kill it that quick. What else?
you need one to pop off, and it was the one that he did with was it the goat baby or something? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that lamb. Yeah, that's what it was. But
We were also doing something weird with him in Santa Clarita, also a summer. It was one of the hottest, I think, on LA history. And it was with a prosthetic pig or whatever. It was literally like a pig on a chair.
really,
And I was like, what are we doing?
what are, I mean, movie making in general, just like anytime you stop and you go, wait, what are we
But
doing?
90% of the time you're sweating. You're
Yeah.
sweating and you're uncomfortable.
Let this be a lesson to you. Anybody who's thinking about like a career in film, it's sweaty and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Wait, so Adult Best Friends, it's done. What is happening with it? Festivals?
Yes, and they are trying to sell it. I don't know
Okay.
where I honestly unplug myself when it's my work is done. So I don't know. They're trying to sell it. It's promising.
Yeah.
The reviews were fantastic. So yeah, it's on the next step. Hopefully theatrical release or streaming soon.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're allowed to say this. We can cut this out if we want, but Delaney Buffett is Jimmy Buffett's daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who, Jimmy Buffett was like, I don't know, did Jimmy Buffett mean anything in Mexico? Did you know who he was?
Uh, I mean, I knew the song like
Yeah.
Margarita.
Margaritaville, yeah.
But I had no clue. And it's funny because how I learned about him, I was walking towards Figaro on Vermont, and there's a record store like vintage.
Yeah. I know it. I know it. Yeah.
I already knew her a couple of times working on the Liz Taylor AIDS Foundation. And I passed by and it says something Buffett, and it was like what to me look cowboy or like southerny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Delaney. So next time I see her, because it was the next day, I was like, is your like, are you something about? I saw this record. Are you related? Because they look like. And she was like, yeah, it's my dad. But she's very quiet. Like I thought she didn't want to speak about it, so I didn't continue. So I asked the producer, who's great friends with her, is she not comfortable with it? Yeah, of course she's proud, but also I don't think anyone, I mean, a lot of people that attend to AFI that they are
Oh,
family
yeah.
who I think that everyone wants to be known as who they are. I
Yeah.
mean, so I don't really know what the deal is. She's Delaney, and I don't think we spoke a lot about it, but she's very open about her life also, and like her family. I think by now in this process, I met a lot of her good friends and some of the family members. So she's very, once you're a team member of her, she opens her life.
Yeah.
But I don't think she conducts herself in any way of like, oh yeah, I'm Jimmy Buffett's daughter, because
Right.
she wants to do make her own path, I think.
Yeah.
But you have to ask her. I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, what's nice is she's making a path in a whole different art form than what her
Yeah.
father did, which is, how do you follow in footsteps, in the same world? So, I had my first job was with Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy and producers who did like all the Spielberg movies back in the day. That was before I worked at AFI. And Frank Marshall was best friends with Jimmy Buffett like his whole life. And so, as like an employee, we went to a lot of concerts. I just remember like box seats at the Hollywood Bowl. So like Jimmy was always a presence. And then like, yeah, it was very sad that he passed away last year. Just seeing it through someone that I knew, Frank Marshall's eyes, like that was his best friend for such a long time.
I hope it's not wrong for me to bring this up, but and I think I told this to Delaney after the premiere. In a way, when we were shooting the movie, I know he was sick, and Delaney, for the permits that we got from, it was a strike. We couldn't delay the movie, so knowing what was going on behind the scenes and how she conducted herself, like she was so positive all the time and doing her best and working so hard, makes me admire her even more as a human being only, because she never, even it was all challenging and tough and sometimes exasperating, she was the one person that never lost it, and she was always kind and giving her best. So I think knowing what was behind the scenes makes me admire her and appreciate her as a human being even more.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, that says a lot about her.
Yeah.
Um, all right, we're gonna wrap this up, but like let's talk like film school. Is it worth it? You went through it. It's
To
I
me,
mean, can you say like where you are now, all these, your career, which to me, is just starting. Yeah. Can you attribute it to film school?
To me, I think it was the perfect path to where I wanted to be. And the experience, I mean, I'm a hard ride, is that how you say it? Like ride hard? What's the expression when
Of
you
what? Wait, what are you trying to say?
love something? You're like a hard ride of something. Oh, whatever. I love AFI.
You love it.
Some people don't. Some people had a horrible experience and are
Yeah.
like, well, AFI is overrated. In my personal experience, I got exactly what I wanted from it, not what I thought, because I don't think you're prepared for it until you go through it. But for me, it was the right experience. I met the people that became my family here in the States. I took a lot of opportunities. I took a lot of beatings too, like emotional, but I don't know. To me, it's like the whole experience was right. But I also believe like one makes their own experiences in life. So if you go there and start complaining about everything, I think you're not going to enjoy it. And truly, I think culture plays a big role on it. I was my cultural shock here in the States was learning or seeing how much people complain about what they have, which in a way it's good because I think you as a society are constantly changing and have a lot figured out. I'm not saying everything, there's a lot to work on, but you do have some things figured out and a system because you complain. But a lot of issues, people don't find joy every day because they're constantly complaining. So I think,
And so Mexican culture is there's more joy found in the day-to-day life.
I mean, there's a lot of everything, but a lot of people are like, whatever you have, you're grateful for, you know, and whatever comes to you, you're grateful for. Like, I think Latin American cultures tend to be a little more joyful.
Yeah.
But yeah, here, most of the American people were constantly complaining, which also brought a lot of change and progress in the school. But I think if you don't balance it properly, it just becomes also a nightmare. Like I think the year below me, I think they were complaining so much that the system crashed. So I think there's a little balance and you need to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, what's the point in being there, spending all that money?
Yeah. That's such an interesting perspective on like American culture. Because when you say it like that, it sounds like, oh, that's a critique. Like you complain so much, but you're right that in that complaint or it can't just be a complaint. That's the thing. It has to be a complaint with the effort to try to fix that thing that's wrong, right? To work on it. And that's hopefully what you mean by that. Like the strive to always get better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we're just a bunch of complainers. Well, Jessica, it's fun to see your career just like starting to take off, and it's gonna get bigger and bigger. I want to see the adult best friends. I feel like you and Delaney and Maria should come, and we should do a little screening and talk sometime.
Yeah, I mean, they are super fun to speak to.
It sounds fun. Yeah,
they are very fun. That the whole crew, again, it was always so stimulating in a way, the jokes, the conversations, but also you're trying to get stuff done. So it was also hard to work because everyone was also so fun. So yeah, you should invite them over.
Okay, let's do it. I really want to see it. So until then, this is like the first of many conversations we'll have because you're going to be making a lot of movies. So we'll have to do this and go deep into one of them.
Yeah, next week.
Just like you go deep into the ocean. Oh yeah, there you go. Next week. Don't be a stranger. I'll see you around AFI, and thanks for doing this. And I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you. I love you. You're the funnest.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.